Fala galera, seja muito bem-vindo ao canal Repeat After Me Idiomas. Eu sou o William e hoje eu tenho um convidado especial. Ele se chama Benjamin Decker. Ele é um autor, teosofista e também tem um podcast muito interessante para o aprendizado de inglês. Um dos livros deles muito interessante que eu tenho aqui marcado é o Practical Meditation for Beginners, A Guide to the Heart of Mindfulness, Meditation and the Art of Healing. Ele tem outros livros também interessantes que eu vou colocar na descrição do vídeo. Se você então não é inscrito no canal, já se inscreve, deixa aquele like e bora pro vídeo. Ben, thank you so much for accepting participating in this interview with us, with Repeat After Me team. All right, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. This is exciting.
Yeah. Ben, first, can you tell us a little bit about your background, your profession, what do you do for a living?
Well, I'm a meditation teacher.
Okay.
And so my work is mostly around helping people from all different backgrounds manage their health, their physical health, their mental health, their emotional health, their relationships, and their spirituality through meditation and meditation exercises. And the way that I do that is through the classes and retreats that I teach. I also work with private clients, one-on-one, and I've written 4 books, all on meditation. I also have a podcast, and we're entering into season 2 of the podcast. So it's technically brand new, but we're going to season 2.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've heard the podcast, a couple of episodes. It's called The Modern Spirituality, right? And
Yes.
why did you decide to create this podcast? What was the purpose behind this idea?
Well, my family was very religious growing up. And so I saw a lot of value that religion can bring to our personal lives, especially when things get really hard. When we're hit with financial problems or physical health, or someone in our family dies, or when we have a new baby being born, I found that religion and church helped the community navigate these very important parts of our lives. But I also saw how ways that religion harmed and made things harder for people to be happy.
Okay.
And I perceived those as mistakes. So I didn't think anyone was harming anyone on purpose, but I thought that some of these religions had old ideas that were not true about how to navigate these very important parts of our lives. And so I began to research all the different religions that I could find. And I studied something called comparative religion, where you're comparing different aspects of each religion to each other to see where they're the same and where they're different. But comparative religion, for me, felt like an emphasis on what we disagree on.
Okay.
And what I wanted to do was emphasize what everyone already agrees on.
Yeah.
And say, okay, there's a lot of areas where we both agree. So maybe those are areas where it's true. And so modern spirituality, because we're now global, and this is a global experience, and we're learning each other's languages. Tudo bem?
Yeah, of course. Tudo bem. Very well.
I know a couple words in Portuguese.
Really?
But now we're learning each other's languages, and we're becoming more global. We should, of course, now start to learn each other's spiritual practices, beliefs, and customs, and start to, just like we can find new beauty in the world through a new language, seeing the way another language describes the world and the different personalities that each language has. Now we could also explore spirituality and see all of the different personalities that God has through all the different cultures. And so modern spirituality is about being global and collaborative. So we're interested in exploring each other's backgrounds. We're open-hearted, we're open-minded, we're willing to hear ideas that are different from our own. And I knew that I had a lot of friends who felt the same way. And I thought a podcast would be a great way to bring some of my friends who are some of the best teachers and authors and public figures in the world. Some of them are very, very famous, world-renowned professionals. You know, I know you're also doing with your work.
Yeah.
And so I thought, what a great opportunity to bring in conversations with all these diverse people around this shared idea.
Yeah, that's awesome. Everything you say, I agree with that, because it's really difficult nowadays. People, when it comes to religion, politics, and these matters, they are still like taboos. Like people don't like to talk about these things, right? They don't like to
Right.
talk. They like to judge each other's religions. They don't sit to make a conversation, to understand other sides, just as you mentioned, right? And I think nowadays the world deserves people like us that want to discuss, to discover, to see how people think about a religion, how they were raised. Because, for example, I am Catholic, but I respect all the religions. I respect all everything. I'm really open-minded, as you said, and I think that's the real point. My next question for you is, I've heard, I studied a little bit about your profile, about yourself, and I think it's really interesting what you do, and I congratulate you for that. One of the things is, I saw you are Theosophist, right? Theosophist? I
Yeah.
didn't understand the term. I didn't understand. I had to look it up a little bit to understand. Basically, I think that it's interesting, but at the same time, I think most people don't know about this. Could you explain in a few words, or maybe just give us a context about theosophy, what it believes and
What I mean,
everything? Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Great question. Um, Theosophy is a worldview
Mhm.
um, that that's intending to be wise about God. Theosophia,
Mhm.
theosophy, theo comes from a Greek root word that means divine or
All right.
God. And Sophia is like wisdom or philosophy. And so Theosophia or theosophy is the philosophy of being wise about God. And so that means that we have to be wise about God, which what does that mean? What does it mean to be wise about God? To be
Mhm.
wise about God is to be humble enough to know that God is so much bigger than any human could fully understand. So to be wise about God, to be a theosophist, is to be very humble in the area of theology, which is the study of God.
Mhm.
So a lot of religions have their theology, which is
Yeah.
where God comes from, how God created the universe, if there's more than one God, what God looks like, what kind of creature God is. All of the scriptures for the different religions are the source material for the theology.
Mhm.
But the theosophical thinking recognizes that every single prophet, every single saint, every single sage from all the religions did their best to write out what they were trying to communicate. But we know that language can only communicate so much, especially as we learn other languages. We try to find the words to express really exactly how we feel. Some people are better at it than others. That's why we have great poets and great literature contributions through plays and novels and encyclopedias and textbooks. But a theosophist recognizes that all of the scriptures, all of the sutras, are all written from a person doing their absolute best to explain something unexplainable.
Yeah. Of
And
course.
so a theosophist says, okay, we have to be very wise as we study these things so that we can find the light, the higher truth from within it. The term theosophia or theosophy is quite old and dates back to ancient Greece, but the term was popularized in the 1800s by a woman named Helena Blavatsky, and she created the Theosophical Society in India. It had locations in India and in the United States and in other places. And what she studied was the esoteric teachings of all the religions that she could get her hands on, you know.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times theosophy is associated with that organization, but it's really much bigger than that organization. And the founding phrase, the motto, if you will, the phrase about the Theosophical Society that she wrote, I think explains theosophy very well. And it says, there is no religion higher than truth.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's really interesting, and thanks so much for explaining everything for us. It's really clear, and I just want to let you know that I'm sure our students gonna love you because you have a very clear English, and it's really understandable. And it's funny because when we interview other people that they are native, they speak so fast, and people maybe don't understand when when they are watching everything. But you speak like in a pace that everybody's gonna understand. Thank you so much for that as well. Man, I was going to ask you, how do you think positivity and negativity can influence on people's lives when they want to learn something? For example, my students want to learn a language, and that sometimes they are hard work, they study hard, but they have this negative thinking, feelings. How do you think this can block their minds to learn?
Well, doing anything that's worth doing will be challenging.
Yeah.
So it's worth doing it if it's challenging. We get more of a reward when something's challenging. So we have to really become aware of positivity and negativity in our own mental patterns, in our self-talk, in the way we talk to ourselves on the inside. And negative thinking is normal. Negative thinking is natural. Negative thinking only has as much power as you give it. So even if you have a negative thought, keep going. Replace it. Clear it out. Move on. Just what I do and what we do when we practice sort of the Buddhist forms of meditation is we observe. So we close our eyes. Well, let's do a 5-second meditation. We close our eyes and we just breathe. And we observe our mind.
Yeah.
We observe the thoughts in our mind, okay? So you can open your eyes, but observing the thoughts in our mind helps us realize if we're, wow, I'm being negative.
Yeah.
So once we recognize it, we have the opportunity to intervene. And we can say, you know what? No, you're not going to make this harder. It's already hard. Nope.
Exactly.
You're not going to make this harder on me by making fun of me for not being good at it, for making me feel insecure about my accent, for making me feel like insecure about not knowing the exact words. Guess what? Even in our own native language, we don't always know the exact words. We don't
That's
always know
totally
the
true.
right thing to say. Don't be afraid to say it wrong.
That's
You
amazing.
know, I'm here in Topanga, California, Los Angeles. And my partner his name is Sadi Simone. He's Brazilian.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
Awesome.
actually my book, Practical Meditation for Beginners, recently came out in Portuguese.
Amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'll
That's
send it
awesome.
to you.
All
Yeah.
right.
So you can have the English and the Portuguese. It's a really interesting way to practice.
To practice, to learn vocabulary. right? And
Yeah.
basically, what you just said right now, I connect to the episode 18 that you had a conversation in your podcast with Paul Denniston. You talked about grief, also about the negative feelings, right? So these things really can impede you from achieving your goals, but at the same time, as you said, if you just keep going, just try to meditate, just close your eyes, just like breathe, just be like mental healthy, and you're gonna get what you want. You're gonna learn,
Right.
you're gonna, gonna improve your skills and everything.
Right. And something with that episode 18 with Paul Denniston,
Yeah.
he teaches grief yoga. So
Uh-huh.
when we have something that comes up in our body, when you're stressed about something, there's actual stress hormones in your body, in your
Hmm.
bloodstream. And so he teaches movement, breath, and affirmations or mantra to
Hmm.
work together to move the energy oh, ha, ha, through
Yeah.
your body.
Hmm.
And it moves the energy through your body, and you actually then feel better. And that's something that my partner, his name is Saudi Simone, he's from Brazil. He
Hmm.
has something called a somatic activated healing work, where he actually moves it through the body also. So if you're having a hard time and you're feeling blocked, you might need to stand up and shake your body and dance a little bit, move the energy out of your
Yeah.
body, because you didn't learn your native language from beating yourself up about not already knowing it. You learned your native language by saying things wrong, by trying, by
Your
picking it
parents
up.
corrected you.
Yep.
You learned how to pronounce yeah and how to pronounce and everything. That's
Yeah,
totally true.
little by little, little
Yeah.
by little.
You got any advice on, for example, people nowadays, a lot of people have like anxiety, they have like depression, they have like they feel they are not good enough to achieve their goals. You have any like advices or exercise that we can do to do that, like to overcome these things?
You know, there are two ways that I approach that.
Uh,
First is there's the physical way. Second is the spiritual way.
sure.
So the spiritual way is knowing
Hmm.
that you are loved no
Yeah.
matter what. And it sounds kind of funny, but sometimes if we can't achieve a goal, we feel like we're not lovable. And it's unconscious. We don't
Yeah.
always have that thought, but it's very deep. We think
We're not good enough, let's say.
we're not good enough. Exactly. We're not good enough.
Yeah.
We don't deserve anything that's good. We're bad at this, whatever. And then from a spiritual level, we just say none of that's true. I love you,
Yeah.
said God. God loves you. There's something real about the divine. And that's what modern spirituality is about. It's about feeling and knowing that your spirit is real. You actually exist, and you're a living being, and your heart is real, and how you feel is real. How you feel matters. How you what your desires are matter.
Hmm.
How you express yourself matters. How you explore your desires.
Yeah.
How you feel in relationships. It all matters.
Most definitely.
And every one of us matters. And so going into that spiritual practice of knowing that unlocks everything. That's the master key that will unlock every single lock. So we have to always go there. We have in the Bible. I study the Bible. I study Buddhism. I study the Vedas, Hinduism.
Wow.
I study Egyptian spirituality. I study indigenous shamanic practices. I prepare people to take ayahuasca. You're familiar with
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I've heard. Yeah, of course.
I take people through ayahuasca with traditional shaman
Hmm.
at a medical resort, very safe medical facility. I also do integration work. I train people in integrating a spiritually transformative experience like ayahuasca. So I do a lot of work in a lot of different areas: shamanic plant
Wow.
medicine, energy work, tai chi, Reiki,
You have like
hypnotherapy.
course online about that?
I do a lot of different courses online with the plant medicine. I do a training with shamanic energy healing.
All right.
Every year I take a group to Costa Rica,
Mhm.
sort of halfway between here and Brazil.
I'll let the
And
link below for people that want to subscribe
yeah,
and get your courses.
yeah, and you can actually come with me to Costa Rica and do ayahuasca, or you can do my online trainings on preparing for ayahuasca to do it in a healthy way,
Mhm.
and in a way that's body, mind, spirit, holistic approach. A lot of that's a great opportunity to ask any questions, have them be answered,
Of
to
course.
really explore any one of these things. So I'm saying all that because that's what a theosophist is. That's how I study. That's how I approach.
Mhm.
And if that resonates for you, that you're a theosophist. A theosophy is not a religion. It's not a, it's a kind of person. Sa, who I mentioned earlier, who's Brazilian, Sadi Simone, he's very popular. Maybe people already know him, but
Uh-huh.
he's a theosophical Buddhist.
Oh,
He's a Vajrayana Buddhist practitioner, but he's a Vajrayana Buddhist theosophist. That means that he's trying to be wise about his religion. He believes that there's truth in other religions, even though he practices that religion, just like you're Catholic, but maybe you're a theosophical Catholic,
yeah.
or a Catholic theosophist.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, totally. And also, I still speaking about like meditations. I remember that the other day I saw your post on Instagram talking about like cemeteries that you like. It's a place that you like to meditate, that you feel peace, like peaceful, right? And I really connect this to what I have here in Brazil, that in our church we have like a group, and in this group, we like to go to cemeteries, like to pray there, and like to sing sometimes, just to meditate, just to feel good. It's a place that we really like feel like it's our home, you know what I mean? And I really connect this idea, and I want to ask you something. What do you think about resurrection? What do you think about heaven, hell, or purgatory? What are your beliefs about this?
Okay, so from a theosophical perspective,
Uh-huh.
we would look at that and we would say all of those prophets
Uh-huh.
who wrote the Bible, who
Yeah.
wrote where you're these are Catholic terms,
Uh-huh.
heaven and Christian,
Yeah.
and they're not only Catholic, but you're speaking from a Catholic perspective as that
Uh-huh.
Catholic community. And so what we would say is, what is heaven, what is hell, what is purgatory? To Catholics, we have to realize every Catholic is different.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
every religion is internally diverse.
Uh-huh.
So even though 25 people are all Catholic,
Mhm.
heaven is something a little bit different to all 25 of them. So to me,
Mhm.
heaven, I believe that in the beginning there was God,
Okay.
and God created everything out of God.
All right.
So I believe that everything that's alive has the DNA of God
Sure.
inside. And so I believe that I'm going to use these same terms, these Catholic words,
Uh-huh.
but I believe them in a spiritual interpretation,
Okay.
a metaphysical spiritual interpretation. Heaven can mean a lot of things. So
Uh-huh.
what we normally think is like, what happens when we die?
Yeah.
You know, and so there's the issue of reincarnation or no reincarnation.
Hmm.
For me,
Yeah.
what I think is so important, I think it's about the heart of the matter.
Okay.
So every single issue, I say, what's the heart truth of the matter? Some people are going to say heaven's a real place that you really go to. Some people
Hmm.
are going to say heaven is a place on earth. Some people are going to say heaven is a state where you feel the Holy Spirit.
Hmm.
Everyone's going to say something different. And a theosophist says, okay, but what's the heart of it? What's the
Yeah.
heart wisdom truth? And so what I say the heart of heaven is peace, a state of love. Love is heaven. if we're in perfect respect, perfect love, perfect acceptance, that's heaven. Have you ever been totally loved and accepted and completely warmly welcomed and nothing about you was wrong and like you could just be yourself? Heaven. That's heaven.
Sure.
Total love, this moment of heaven. That's heaven. Hell is when you're in total fear. I'm completely alone. Nobody understands me. I don't even know if God's real. I don't even know if I believe that there's a higher power. Am I even real? Does any of this matter? I'm so angry at this person. I'm so angry at them. I can't believe how evil that person is. They're so bad. That's hell. That
Exactly.
intensity, feeling alone, like, think about when you're triggered, the worst feeling.
Yeah.
That, like when your eyebrows get weird and you're angry.
Angry.
Oh,
Yeah.
like you start to you can't control yourself anymore. And it's like, and you yell and you're screaming and you say really mean things and you're fighting with someone that you love normally, but you're fighting so bad. That's hell.
Right. And
That's hell.
the idea of purgatory, this place when we die.
So,
What do you think about this
so
idea?
let's go to purgatory. Let's talk purgatory. And then I don't want to forget resurrection.
Sure, of
That's my
course.
favorite one. So we'll come back to that.
Yeah,
That's my favorite one.
we're gonna come back.
Okay, so let's look at purgatory. Purgatory is think about the moments in your life where you don't feel like you really know what to do.
Yeah.
You're not triggered, you're not angry, you're not fighting, you're not bloody, you're not wounded, but maybe you're depressed. Maybe you're at a loss for what to do next. You don't really know where to go. You don't
feel
really
like you're
have energy.
invisible, like you don't know where you are, like a kind of feeling like
It's
that.
not peaceful. Yeah, it's like, where's my life going? What am I even doing? I don't feel connected to purpose.
Why I'm
You
doing
look at the
this?
news. Yeah. Well, is any of this worth it? Is any of
Gotcha.
this even worth it anymore? I don't know. It's not total despair and anger and fury and fire like hell, the frequency of hell,
Of course.
but it's that vibration of not being pulled by the vision of heaven. It's not being inspired. Think about the word inspire. Inspira. Respira. To
Yeah.
breathe in. To inspire is to fill with breath and to fill with the spirit.
Gotcha.
To be filled with spirit. And spirit is heaven. Spirit is inspiration. It's the passion. It's also fire, but it's not hellfire. It's heaven fire. It's the flame of the sound of an angel's voice. It's the healing light that radiates from God, from heaven. It's heaven fire,
Yeah.
And heaven fire gives us passion in our hearts where we feel like inspired to move forward. And when we don't have that spirit, when we don't have the spirit, when we don't have inspiration, we are in purgatory.
Sure.
And it's an in-between place. And I believe that heaven, hell, and purgatory are frequencies, they're dimensions of being that we experience in emotion, feeling, and thought in our lives. And I can't say for sure what happens after we die. I can say what some thoughts, and we can talk about it. I have beliefs, but I'm a meditation practitioner. I'm a mystic. I'm a medicine practitioner. So I go into the poetry and the intimacy of the direct experience of the divine. So there are things I want to be wise and humble about, which means I don't know for sure. And I think it's okay that we don't know for sure what happens after we die. Some people are very sure about it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm just, I'm
Yeah.
very sure about, I've been to hell in this lifetime.
Yeah.
I've been to heaven right here, right now.
Hmm.
And I've been to purgatory,
Of course.
where you're at a loss and you have decisions to make. And those decisions will take you to heaven or hell,
Of course.
Um, so one more thing you addressed, is resurrection. So
Resurrection. Yeah.
you asked about resurrection, and that's my favorite one. And I'm glad you started with that. That's actually the first one you asked about.
Yeah.
Uh, resurrection for many people is refers to when Jesus Christ, Yeshua,
Yeah.
when Jesus Cristo, how do we say it in Portuguese?
Jesus Cristo.
Jesus
Jesus.
Cristo.
Yeah.
Jesus Cristo. Okay, I don't speak Portuguese,
Good.
but we can try. Jesus Cristo, when he was crucified and died as part of a ceremonial ritual ordinance that liberated all beings, right?
Mhm.
That created what Christians believe in as the plan of salvation, the atonement. And so then he was put into the tomb for 3 days. And after 3 days, they were like, wait a second, where's his body? Mary Magdalene sees him. There's the entire narrative around what happens next. So he says, he ascends into heaven and he says, other sheep that I have that are not of this fold, them I will bring. That's the King James English version. But
Of
he said,
course.
and so then he ascends into heaven. And I was raised Mormon, a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Mhm.
So we use the Bible and we use the Book of Mormon. So we were raised believing that when he resurrected in the Middle East and he ascended into heaven, that he then came back down to earth in the Americas, probably in South America,
Mhm.
where he met with the indigenous people here, and he was Quetzalcoatl. And so he came and he performed miracles and brought the sacred gift of salvation to the indigenous people in a form that they gave a different name to. And that's a very similar belief to the belief in reincarnation.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so resurrection and reincarnation seem very different if you're attached to a specific interpretation, right? Resurrection means you die and then that same body is restored and revived back to life. Reincarnation means you die and a new body is born.
Mhm.
So those are the literal interpretations. A theosophist says, what is at the truth? What is at the heart? What is the heart wisdom truth? And so the heart wisdom truth of resurrection and rebirth are the same. It means that death is not the end. It means that when your body dies, it's not the end. And that's all you need to know right now.
Yeah.
All you need to know is that death is not the end. You don't need to be afraid at death. And so death of our bodies, it's scary. It's like the number
It
one
is.
scariest
Indeed.
thing,
It is. It
you
is.
know? And the death of our loved ones is like the second most big scary thing. And the death of a situation, the end of a cycle, the end of a relationship, the end of a job, when a pet dies, when we lose a possession that we loved,
Mhm.
when a house burns down, when we get into a car accident and we total a car, when we lose a lot of money, when something scary or traumatic happens and we experience a loss of some kind, it's a death and it's scary. And so the heart of the sacred wisdom within the teaching of resurrection is that death is not the end. All will be restored better than it was before.
Amazing.
Better than it was before. You will ascend into heaven. So the ascension means evolution. It means
Mhm.
growth. It means more. Life more abundantly comes for you, So whether you're Catholic or Buddhist, death is not the end. Whether you're Jewish or Christian, death is not the end. Whether you're Islamic or indigenous, death is not the end. Whether you believe in resurrection or reincarnation, death is not
It's
the
not
end.
the end. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I think we have only 3 minutes before our recording stops. So I was just gonna ask you, you have 4 books, right?
Right.
4 books. Which one is your favorite and why? If you could say.
Okay, so my 2 favorites are the first one and the fourth one.
The first
One,
and the fourth.
yeah, Practical Meditation for Beginners.
Okay.
The fourth one is Modern Spirituality, a guide to the heart of mindfulness, meditation, and the art of healing. And it's because those 2 put the most emphasis on the theosophical approach to multiple religious views. So that's why those 2 are my favorite.
Amazing.
And
I'm gonna read that.
My 4th book, Modern Spirituality, has the same name as my podcast, Modern Spirituality.
Amazing. Are you planning on writing another one?
Absolutely. I have a 5th one coming soon.
Oh, amazing.
I'll let you know.
I also have my first book coming out soon as well.
What is it? What's your book?
Yeah, it's about secrets on how to learn a language. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you a copy.
Yes, thank you.
I'm gonna translate in 4 languages.
Portuguese.
Of course.
I need to learn because my partner's Brazilian, so I got to know.
Of course, that's a pleasure. Ben, I'm sorry, but we just have like 1 minute. I just want to thank you so much for everything. That was really a very enriching conversation, an amazing experience. People will understand you. Thank you so much. I'll send you the link when it's out. Thank you, Ben.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Bye-bye.